Lisa and Mark had once been the ideal couple in everyone's eyes. They met during college, where Mark majored in finance, and Lisa studied fine arts. While Mark dreamed of climbing the corporate ladder, Lisa loved creating artwork and always spoke of how she'd find a way to blend creativity with purpose. After graduation, they married in a small but elegant ceremony, surrounded by family and friends who admired how well they complemented each other. In the early days of their marriage, they shared simple dreams: a home, a family, and a comfortable life built on teamwork and love. Once Mark landed a corporate job, Lisa stayed home to manage their household. Though she had planned to pursue art commissions, those aspirations faded as they settled into a routine. Mark often said that her job as a homemaker was just as important as his role at the office. Lisa believed him, dedicating herself to making their home warm and welcoming. She cooked meals, managed finances carefully, and ensured Mark returned to a space of comfort and peace. For a while, they seemed genuinely happy. However, after a couple of years, Mark's demeanor started to change. His job grew more stressful, with promotions and expectations piling up. Gradually, his once loving words became sharp remarks disguised as jokes. "Must be nice to sit at home while I pay the bills," he said one evening after a particularly tough day at work. Lisa laughed it off, believing it was just frustration talking, but the comment stung. It was the first of many similar remarks to come. As Mark's workload intensified, so did his dissatisfaction with their dynamic. He stopped appreciating Lisa's work around the house and began acting as if it were a given. Whenever Lisa mentioned feeling tired or overwhelmed, Mark scoffed, saying, "Tired from what? Watching Netflix all day?" These comments started as small quips but soon turned into patterns of daily ridicule. Lisa tried reasoning with him, explaining the emotional and physical labor of managing a household, but Mark always brushed it off. Publicly, Mark presented himself as the supportive husband. He told friends and coworkers how lucky Lisa was to have no job-related stress, but privately, he made her feel useless. At family gatherings or social events, he would joke about her day-off routine, leaving Lisa embarrassed and humiliated. "Lisa doesn't know the first thing about hard work," Mark once said in front of his colleagues. She forced a smile, hiding her hurt behind polite laughter, but inside, she felt small and insignificant. The breaking point came during a dinner party hosted by Mark's boss. Lisa had spent hours preparing dishes and setting up the house perfectly to impress the guests. Everything went smoothly until someone asked about Lisa's work. Mark, with a smug grin, replied, "Oh, Lisa doesn't work. She's a professional nap taker." Laughter erupted around the room, but Lisa's face flushed with embarrassment. She quickly excused herself to the kitchen, pretending to clean dishes while tears threatened to fall. When the party ended and the guests left, Lisa confronted Mark. "Why do you keep humiliating me like that?" she demanded. Mark, unfazed, shrugged and replied, "It's just a joke. You need to lighten up. Besides, if you actually did something productive, maybe there'd be something to brag about." His words pierced her heart like a knife. That night, as Lisa lay in bed staring at the ceiling, she made a silent vow: she would prove her worth, not to Mark, but to herself. Lisa began her journey quietly. Late at night, while Mark slept, she scoured the internet for online classes. She enrolled in a business and marketing course, determined to use her creativity to build something meaningful. By day, she maintained the house as usual, ensuring Mark never suspected anything. By night, she pored over lessons, taking notes, watching tutorials, and sketching ideas. Sleep became scarce, but Lisa felt alive in a way she hadn't in years. Days turned into weeks, and Lisa's routine became more disciplined. She spent her evenings learning graphic design and digital marketing, skills that would help her launch her business. Her first goal was small: to create a portfolio of artwork and offer freelance services online. Slowly, her late-night efforts started bearing fruit. She landed her first gig designing a logo for a local bakery. The payment was modest, but it ignited a spark of confidence within her. Meanwhile, Mark remained oblivious. His disdain for Lisa's supposed easy life only grew. Every evening, he would complain about his demanding job while Lisa listened quietly, hiding her exhaustion from late nights spent learning. "You wouldn't understand stress," Mark sneered one day after work. "You've never done a real day's work in your life." Lisa bit her tongue, her heart pounding as she resisted the urge to lash out. The more Mark ridiculed her, the stronger Lisa's determination became. She knew arguing with him wouldn't change anything, so she focused all her energy on her growing side hustle. Every insult became fuel for her efforts. One day, "He'll see," Lisa whispered to herself after one particularly hurtful remark. Lisa's freelance projects multiplied. She became known in online communities for her dedication and quality work, and word of mouth brought new clients to her doorstep. Within months, Lisa was earning a steady income, not enough to rival Mark's salary, but more than she'd ever imagined. She continued keeping her success secret, determined to reveal it only when the time was right. Her days remained the same, with Mark seeing no change in her routine. To him, Lisa was still the jobless wife, but Lisa knew better. Each paycheck, each satisfied client, and each hour spent learning validated her worth in ways Mark's approval never could. As Lisa's success grew quietly, Mark's career hit a rough patch. His company faced downsizing, and Mark was passed over for a promotion he had counted on. He grew bitter, taking out his frustrations on Lisa more frequently. "I'm the only reason we're not living in a box," he snapped one night after work. Lisa didn't respond, but inside, she felt a flicker of satisfaction. Little did Mark know, Lisa had been saving most of her earnings, building a safety net they might soon need. One evening, Mark came home complaining about bills and how he had to shoulder everything alone. "If you were capable of anything, maybe I wouldn't be drowning here," he yelled. Calmly, Lisa handed him an envelope. Confused, Mark opened it to find bank statements, Lisa's bank statements. The numbers stunned him. Lisa had not only earned money but saved enough to pay off a significant portion of their debt. Mark stared at her, speechless. How did you do this?" he stammered. Lisa looked at him evenly and said, "I worked. While you mocked me, I was building our safety net. I didn't need your validation to succeed." For the first time in years, Mark had nothing to say. In the days that followed, Mark wrestled with guilt. He realized how blind he had been to Lisa's worth and how his own insecurities had caused him to project his frustrations onto her. Slowly, he began to change. He supported Lisa's growing business, helping where he could and learning to see her as an equal partner. Lisa, for her part, forgave Mark but made it clear that respect was non-negotiable moving forward. She continued building her business, eventually hiring other women who had once felt undervalued like she had. Years later, Lisa's business had blossomed into a thriving company. Mark, now her biggest supporter, often told others how proud he was of his wife. The humiliation Lisa once felt had transformed into empowerment, proving that resilience and determination could turn even the deepest wounds into strength. Their marriage, once cracked by ego and disrespect, had been rebuilt on a foundation of mutual admiration and partnership. Lisa's journey was not just one of success but of self-worth, teaching both herself and Mark a valuable lesson: everyone's contributions have value, and respect is the greatest gift one can give. Mark found himself reflecting on his past behavior almost daily. Watching Lisa work tirelessly to expand her business, he realized how short-sighted and unfair he had been. At first, guilt consumed him, but as time passed, his admiration for Lisa's resilience grew. He started offering to help with tasks, like organizing invoices or handling small deliveries. Though hesitant at first, Lisa allowed him to assist. Seeing her trust him with even minor responsibilities filled Mark with quiet pride, a role reversal that felt strange but necessary. Meanwhile, Lisa's business thrived beyond her expectations. Her graphic design services, coupled with her marketing expertise, attracted larger clients. She began collaborating with small businesses looking to rebrand themselves. Each success gave her confidence, erasing the scars left by Mark's ridicule. Though she had forgiven him, Lisa understood that forgiveness didn't mean forgetting, it meant choosing to focus on progress. Mark, for his part, observed silently, feeling both proud and humbled. Mark couldn't shake the discomfort he felt when recalling his own failures at work. The promotions he once considered inevitable had slipped through his fingers, leaving him resentful and disoriented. "It's because of the economy," he would mutter defensively, but deep down, he knew better. Lisa's success served as a mirror, reflecting his stagnation and complacency. It hurt to see that while he had settled into frustration, Lisa had risen quietly, overcoming the very obstacles he accused her of avoiding. One evening, as they sat at the dinner table, Mark broke the silence. "How did you do it?" he asked, his voice softer than Lisa had ever heard. "How did you build all of this?" Lisa paused, setting down her fork. "I stopped waiting for someone else to believe in me," she replied gently. "I decided I wasn't worthless just because you said so. And I worked for it, Mark. I worked harder than I've ever worked before." Her words were not accusatory but honest, and they pierced through his ego like a pin to a balloon. The following weeks marked a turning point for Mark. He began to approach his life with newfound humility. At work, he made an effort to collaborate more, listening to feedback instead of dismissing it. His colleagues noticed the shift, and though progress was slow, he felt pride in the small improvements. At home, Mark started complimenting Lisa's efforts, not out of guilt but genuine admiration. "You've built something incredible," he told her one night as she worked on a client project. Lisa, though surprised, smiled faintly. "Thank you, Mark," she replied, offering a small but meaningful acknowledgement. It wasn't an overnight transformation, but Mark's willingness to grow gave Lisa hope. She watched as he redefined himself, not as a man desperate for dominance but as a partner learning to celebrate someone else's success. For the first time in years, their home began to feel like a shared space, a place where both of them mattered equally. As Lisa's business reached its first major milestone, she decided to celebrate quietly. She booked a small table at a local restaurant and invited Mark. Initially, Mark assumed she was planning to discuss family finances or bills, but when they arrived, Lisa surprised him with a toast. "To us," she said softly, raising her glass. "For learning, for growing, and for making it this far." Mark's chest tightened with emotion as he clinked his glass against hers. "To you," he replied earnestly, "for showing me what real strength looks like." That evening, Mark saw Lisa in a new light. She wasn't just his wife or a homemaker, she was a leader, a businesswoman, and someone who had taught him how to be better. He vowed silently to keep supporting her, knowing her success was their success. The evening ended with quiet laughter and unspoken gratitude, a far cry from the bitterness that once colored their lives. With Lisa's business expanding rapidly, new challenges arose. Clients demanded tighter deadlines, and the pressure to maintain quality mounted. Lisa found herself juggling multiple projects at once, her exhaustion growing with each passing day. Mark noticed her stress and, to her surprise, stepped in without being asked. "Why don't I handle dinner tonight?" "You focus on your work," he offered one evening. Lisa hesitated before nodding, a flicker of relief crossing her face. Mark's small gestures became routine. He started taking on household chores more frequently, giving Lisa time to focus on her work. Seeing her husband step up brought unexpected joy. "Thank you, Mark," she said one night, as he folded laundry beside her. "You're welcome," he replied, smiling. It was a small moment, but it symbolized something profound. They were finally functioning as partners, two people working toward a common goal rather than standing on opposing sides. Lisa's success was no longer a secret. Friends and family marveled at the empire she had built from nothing. Mark, once the center of attention at gatherings, now watched as others showered Lisa with praise. Yet, instead of feeling jealousy or resentment, he felt pride swelling in his chest. "You've done amazing things, Lisa," he told her one night as they returned from a dinner with friends. "And you did it while I spent years underestimating you." Lisa smiled, reaching for his hand. "We both had to learn something, Mark. I had to prove to myself that I was capable. And you had to learn how to see me clearly." Her words, though gentle, carried weight. Mark squeezed her hand in silent agreement. It wasn't easy to admit his mistakes, but seeing Lisa's strength reminded him that growth was always possible, no matter how late it came. Months later, Lisa was invited to speak at a small business summit. The event featured women who had overcome adversity to achieve success. Lisa stood confidently on stage, sharing her story with a room full of aspiring entrepreneurs. Mark sat in the audience, listening intently as she recounted her journey, the ridicule, the late nights, and the determination that carried her through. "It's not about proving others wrong," Lisa concluded. "It's about proving to yourself that you are enough." Mark felt tears welling in his eyes as the audience erupted into applause. He realized, at that moment, how far they had both come. Lisa had found her voice, her power, and her purpose. And Mark had learned to appreciate not just her success but the journey it took to get there. When Lisa stepped off the stage, Mark was the first to stand, clapping louder than anyone else in the room. Life settled into a new rhythm. Mark found renewed purpose at work, applying the lessons he had learned from Lisa's resilience. Meanwhile, Lisa's business continued to thrive, with new clients and opportunities pouring in. The couple, once divided by resentment, now shared a partnership rooted in mutual respect. Their home was no longer a place of tension but a sanctuary of support and understanding. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Mark turned to Lisa. "I'm proud of you," he said simply. Lisa leaned her head against his shoulder, smiling. "And I'm proud of us," she replied softly. The silence that followed wasn't awkward or heavy. It was peaceful, a quiet acknowledgement of the battles they had fought and the lessons they had learned. Lisa's journey taught Mark something he would carry for the rest of his life. Strength comes in many forms, and success isn't measured by titles or salaries. It's measured by perseverance, integrity, and the ability to rise after being knocked down. Watching Lisa flourish was the greatest lesson he had ever received, and he was grateful for it. Lisa, too, reflected on her journey with gratitude. Though painful, The years of humiliation and doubt had shaped her into the woman she was today. She realized that true empowerment came not from proving others wrong but from believing in herself. And as she looked toward the future, she knew one thing for certain: she was enough, just as she was. Lisa's success attracted the attention of larger clients, and soon she was approached for collaborations that seemed unimaginable a year ago. While she thrived professionally, Mark continued grappling with his insecurities. He saw Lisa's independence as a reflection of his earlier failures as a partner, as a man, and as someone unwilling to grow sooner. But instead of wallowing, Mark began channeling these emotions productively. He enrolled in leadership workshops at work and started volunteering for new projects to demonstrate his worth. Lisa noticed the subtle changes. Mark no longer came home spewing complaints about his job. He began sharing small victories, projects completed, praise from his boss, moments that Lisa celebrated wholeheartedly. Slowly, Mark was discovering his value beyond pride and societal expectations. And for Lisa, seeing him embrace growth reassured her that their struggles had served a purpose. One afternoon, Lisa received a surprising email from a prestigious corporate firm. They were impressed with her portfolio and offered her a lucrative contract to oversee a large-scale marketing campaign. The offer was thrilling but overwhelming. It would mean expanding her small business into something far more demanding. That night, Lisa sat with Mark at the dinner table and laid everything out. "It's a huge opportunity, but it scares me," she admitted. Mark listened attentively before replying, "Lisa, you've already proven what you're capable of. I know you can handle this." His words, sincere and free of the old condescension, brought tears to Lisa's eyes. It was the first time Mark fully acknowledged her abilities without hesitation. "We'll figure this out together," he added. The weight of his support reassured Lisa, and she accepted the contract with newfound confidence. As Lisa dove into her new project, Mark took on more responsibilities at home. He learned to cook simple meals, managed the grocery shopping, and handled small repairs Lisa usually oversaw. It was far from perfect. The laundry sometimes came out pink, and dinners occasionally turned into takeout, but Lisa appreciated his effort. For the first time in their marriage, their roles felt balanced, a team working toward a shared goal. Lisa's business flourished under her leadership, and Mark began finding his own success at work. He landed a promotion after months of consistent effort, a milestone that filled him with pride. "I didn't think I could do it," he confessed to Lisa one evening. "You just needed to believe in yourself," she replied with a knowing smile. Their conversations, once filled with tension, had transformed into moments of genuine connection and encouragement. With success came inevitable challenges. Lisa's new project required travel, long hours, and intense focus. Mark, who had grown used to having Lisa at home, found it difficult to adjust. There were nights when he sat alone at the dinner table, missing her presence. For the first time, Mark began to understand the sacrifices Lisa had made during the years when her efforts went unnoticed. Rather than complaining, Mark chose to support Lisa's journey. He encouraged her to focus on her work, reminding her that they were partners in this new chapter. On weekends, he planned quiet moments together to ensure their relationship didn't fall by the wayside. Lisa, in turn, made sure to prioritize time with Mark, appreciating his patience and understanding. At a family gathering, Mark's parents brought up Lisa's success, showering her with praise. While most relatives were supportive, a distant cousin made a snide remark, "It must be nice to have a wife who works so you can slack off, Mark." The comment hit him hard, dredging up old insecurities. For a moment, Mark felt like he was back at square one, a man whose worth was being questioned. Lisa, overhearing the remark, stepped in firmly. "Mark isn't slacking off," she said with quiet authority. "He's been my biggest supporter. None of this would have been possible without him." Her words silenced the room and filled Mark with an unfamiliar pride. For so long, he had underestimated Lisa. Now she was defending him with the same strength he had once ignored. Lisa's business officially hit 6 figures, a milestone she celebrated quietly with Mark. They toasted with wine at their kitchen table, where everything had begun. "This is just the start," Lisa whispered, her eyes alight with ambition. Mark nodded, smiling. "And we'll keep moving forward together," he replied. However, success came with sacrifices. Late nights, deadlines, and travel created a strain neither of them anticipated. Lisa often felt torn between her dreams and her marriage. Mark, now deeply committed to supporting her, reassured her time and again, "We'll figure it out. We always do." One evening, Lisa came home visibly exhausted. She collapsed onto the couch, her head in her hands. "What if I can't keep this up?" she murmured, overwhelmed. Mark sat beside her and gently took her hand. "You don't have to do it alone," he said. "Let me help you. We'll scale back if we need to. Your happiness matters more than anything." Lisa looked at him, tears welling in her eyes. "You really mean that?" Mark nodded. "I finally understand how hard you've worked, Lisa. I see it now, and I won't let you carry it all alone." For the first time in weeks, Lisa felt the weight of her burdens lift. Mark's workplace began noticing his improved leadership skills and offered him an opportunity to oversee a major department shift. It was a chance to reinvent himself professionally, much like Lisa had. Nervous but excited, Mark accepted the challenge. "I'm proud of you," Lisa said, kissing his cheek. "You deserve this." For Mark, the promotion wasn't just about career growth, it was proof that he had finally shed the insecurities that once defined him. He now saw himself not as a competitor to Lisa but as her equal partner, both of them rising in their own ways. Years later, Lisa's business became a thriving enterprise, and Mark's career blossomed alongside hers. They no longer defined their worth by societal expectations or outdated roles. Instead, they measured success by their partnership, mutual respect, and shared growth. Lisa often reflected on their journey. The ridicule, the late nights, the triumphs, every challenge had shaped her into the woman she was. Mark, too, felt pride in how far they had come. "We built this together," he would say, and Lisa agreed. On their wedding anniversary, Mark surprised Lisa with a handwritten letter. "Thank you for showing me what strength looks like," it read. "You taught me to grow, to see beyond my ego, and to believe in both of us." Lisa hugged him tightly, her heart full. "We've both come a long way," she whispered. "And I wouldn't change a thing." As the sun set one evening, Lisa and Mark sat side by side on their porch, watching the sky turn shades of gold. Their struggles, once insurmountable, now felt like distant memories. They had rebuilt not only their marriage but also themselves, proving that true growth comes from understanding, respect, and perseverance. Lisa turned to Mark and smiled. "We're enough, just as we are," she said softly. Mark nodded, reaching for her hand. "Always."